across the Mid-South. That, plus a lot of moisture and temperatures back into the 80s, mean we have the chance to see some more severe weather as well as some very heavy rainfall. Your forecast for us, Fort Little Rock, we are looking for a mostly cloudy Friday. There'll be a 30% chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm, especially in the afternoon. We're going to see high temperatures around 80. Arkansas News That Matters starts right now.
Now, from the station you count on for local news that matters, this is KARK4 News at 10 in high definition.
And tonight at 10, we are following the latest breaking developments as we await word on the final of 4 scheduled executions in Arkansas. Right now, we're in limbo as we wait for a decision from the United States Supreme Court. Good evening and thanks for choosing KARK4 News. I'm Ashley Ketz. Death row inmate Kenneth Williams was set to be put to death at 7 tonight, but that's on hold at the moment. He was to be sentenced to death by lethal injection 17 years ago, and his death warrant expires in about 2 hours from now. KARK4's Bob Clausen is anchoring our coverage live outside the Cummins unit in Lincoln County tonight. Bob?
Hello and good evening, Ashley. You know, you mentioned that we're in limbo. We're actually in a pattern that we're told where we are, which is a courtesy, almost a courtesy open-ended amount of time for the Supreme Court to review this. Ask anyone out here just exactly what that means, and they're going to tell you we're not really sure. Even seasoned folks who have watched many of these and watched the Supreme Court review any of these aren't exactly sure what's happening. They could have issued a stay until 10:30, until 11:30, but they didn't. It was just kind of a courtesy. We also understand the governor is going to be talking to the Attorney General's office. If they're not talking right now, said they've been talking to them about 10 o'clock, so something may come from that conversation. Other than that, you're right. The best way to describe this is in limbo. We're really not sure what's happening, if there's going to be any kind of a stay this evening, if they're going to run this up until the death warrant expires at midnight, or if we're going to have a definitive fact that we will move forward with an execution. A lot of things are happening right now, and I think a lot of the watchers, Marcy Manley with her legal eyes, probably eager to see just exactly what it is that's specifically holding this up and what it is the Supreme Court is looking at. Marcy, are anything getting telegraphed to you as to what's happening?
Well, not really, Bob. What we have learned is that right now a lot of time is passing at this stage, and there are currently 3 things pending before the United States Supreme Court. And as Bob said, this is a courtesy at this point. There is no stay in place. There is no temporary injunction. But what we did to get right here is that there are only cases at the federal level. We do know that at the Supreme Court. Yesterday, the Arkansas Supreme Court denied 2 requests for a stay of execution. The court also denied 2 other motions for an emergency stay. Then the federal 8th Circuit Court of Appeals also denied all 3 of his requests for stay of execution. In these filings, he's alleged intellectual disability, physical impairments that could cause problems with the drug protocols, and juror misconduct in his death penalty criminal trial. Before the United States Supreme Court, the biggest issue right now is the intellectual disability claim. That is what is in front of the United States Supreme Court justices. And at this point, with this much of a delay, some folks on Twitter who I follow who are have followed legal wranglings all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, they say that this telegraphs that the justices are divided and haven't come to a conclusion yet. We have heard from individuals on Twitter that are down there at Cummins with members of the offices of the governor that he plans to speak with Leslie Rutledge, that's the Attorney General. At 10 is when they were scheduled to begin speaking about the next steps that might take place. So right now, with this courtesy pause put in place, the state could theoretically move forward without any action from the United States Supreme Court unless those justices issued a stay or came down with a decision that allowed it to move forward or didn't allow it to move forward temporarily or otherwise. So, Bob, that is what is going on right now from the legal perspective, which means there's probably very little that's happening on your end because this is pretty methodical. It's a step-by-step process. Is that right?
That's right, Marcy. You mentioned, too, that the governor is speaking with the Attorney General at planned to at the top of the hour. J.R. Davis, the spokesperson for the governor, joining us now. Where are we at right now, and has that conversation between the governor and the Attorney General taken place?
They are, my understanding is they're speaking right now, updating the Attorney General's office updating the governor on where they stand right now with the Supreme Court. We're still in that courtesy phase, if you will, where there's no stay in place, but the Supreme Court has asked for more time. I feel like that's a reasonable request, obviously, with the deluge of appeals that went through the 8th Circuit and now that are now in front of SCOTUS. So we're still waiting on word from the Supreme Court at this point.
That's where it is at this point. Was this a courtesy? Did they extend this? Did they request this courtesy? Was it extended on the front end?
My understanding is they just requested for more time, and if we're willing to grant that, and again, it was a reasonable request. We've had a lot go through at the last minute here, and so they're looking through it as they have throughout this process, and we are prepared to move forward when we get word from the Supreme Court.
All right, J.R. Davis, spokesperson for Governor Hutchinson, thanks very much. It's a busy night, going to continue to be. I'm sure we're going to get an update from J.R., no doubt, throughout the evening as we continue to watch and wait and see what happens. A group of people who are watching and waiting, of course, the families of the victims. A lot of them came down. Some of them opted not to come down to the prison tonight to be here or even to witness this. Stephanie Sharp joining us now. You spent a lot of time with some folks, and to say that this has been emotionally raw for a lot of them is an understatement. A lot of them taking a very unique approach to dealing with this and also helping others deal with it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Bob. And of course, as we wait for all these legal challenges, we have to look back on what put Kenneth Williams on death row in the first place. And it's been nearly 2 decades since he was convicted of killing a college cheerleader. Dominique Nikki Hurd was just 19 years old, and she was a student at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff when she was killed. Her mom, Vicki Williams, remembers her only biological daughter as someone who was full of life. Nikki was studying to be a doctor at the University of Pine Bluff when she and a friend were kidnapped, robbed, and shot by Kenneth Williams. Her mother says she forgives Williams, but says she wonders if other tragedies could have been avoided if Kenneth Williams had been sentenced to death in the first place for killing her daughter.
Kind of felt like if they would have given him that at first, maybe we could have saved some more lives.
Nikki's family is not here tonight, and they say they are ready to move forward also while remembering their daughter. Looking at another victim, not everyone wants to see Kenneth Williams put to death. The last person killed by Williams was Michael Greenwood, who died in a car crash Williams caused while fleeing from police in Missouri. Greenwood's daughter, Kayla, is now close friends with Williams' daughter, Jasmine, and just yesterday helped her and her daughter see Williams one last time. And here's what they had to say about the situation.
For me, I just put myself in her shoes, and it just feels like I would be able to see my dad, and I would be able to see my dad meet my children.
He said tomorrow, like, no matter what happens, he will at least be more at peace now, knowing that he was able to see me and my daughter, and as well as everything the Greenwood family has done for him.
Governor Asa Hutchinson responded to the Greenwood family in a statement today saying, in part, I have reviewed the letter from the Greenwood family and I appreciate the genuine spirit and forgiveness and compassion demonstrated by Miss Greenwood. Her letter certainly has an impact. However, my responsibility is to look at the totality of the case, including the views of all the victims and the interest of justice. Kenneth Williams murdered multiple people, and actions have consequences. So strong words there by the governor today, but we do know there is another victim in all of this. Cecil, he was murdered 2 miles away from where we're standing right now. We were told that Cecil Boren's family is here, and they do plan on witnessing that execution.
So here we are, if in fact it takes place, because now we're in this courtesy pause right now, Steph, and we're really not sure where that's going to carry us or how far it will carry us into the evening. Should Kenneth Williams be executed tonight, he would be the 4th person to be executed in the past 7 days in the state of Arkansas. Last Thursday night, Liddell Lee became the first Arkansas death row inmate put to death in 12 years. Then on Monday, the first double execution in this country since 2000 saw Jack Jones and Marcel Williams executed. And you'll recall 4 other executions were originally scheduled for this month. It got national, international attention. The first 2 didn't happen because both Bruce Ward and Don Davis received stays of execution from the state Supreme Court. Stacey Johnson also getting a stay after lower courts ordered new DNA testing in his murder case. And Jason McGee, who was scheduled to be put to death tonight, received a recommendation of clemency from the Arkansas Parole Board. So as of this evening, 29 men sit on Arkansas's death row, not including Kenneth Williams. And right now, this is where we sit. A courtesy pause put in place for this execution this evening so the United States Supreme Court can further review some things that they've come across that they apparently think need to be looked at extremely close. And it's one of those things when the U.S. Supreme Court wants to take a look at things, everything else around it stops until the U.S. Supreme Court says it can move forward. So that's where we are at this point. A big pause, Ashley.
All right, Bob, thanks very much. We will check in with you in a little bit if things do change. Now to a drive-by shooting in Little Rock that left a daycare worker dead and parents fearing the worst. This all happened just before 3 this afternoon on Park Lane. Police say 2 people were shot. The woman who ran this in-home daycare died. KARK4's Caitlin Reardon is live tonight from police headquarters with the very latest. Caitlin?
Well, Ashley, it's hard to watch the raw emotion as the family members and friends were finding out what happened this afternoon. But we feel it's important to show just how many people are affected by senseless shootings like this one. Parents rush to pick up their children after bullets turn a home daycare on Park Lane into a crime scene.
Son's mom called me, told me something tragic happened at the daycare. I need to come get my son.
Chris Maxwell ran from work to pick up his baby after hearing his son's caretaker, 57-year-old Shirley Jackson, was shot during a drive-by.
My son's my whole life, man. She died? Oh, my God, no!
It's something that I didn't want to be told.
Destiny Barton found her aunt unresponsive on the floor of her home just moments after the shooting happened. She says she performed CPR and called 911.
I thought she had passed out from being scared.
A house just down from Jackson's was also hit.
Our other individual that was shot in the leg, he was probably the one that was being targeted.
At the time of the shooting, all the children were on the floor for nap time. None of them were hurt. Police say Jackson was not an intended target.
These homicides in our city do affect a lot of people, and people are losing friends and losing loved ones that have nothing to do with this crime that's going on in our city.
I just wanted to stop. I see other people's family going through it, and I never wish it on my worst enemy.
Now, not a lot of suspect information, but police say witnesses told them a silver car was speeding away near 18th. They haven't made any arrests, and of course, if you know anything, give them a call. Jackson's death marks the 19th homicide in Little Rock for the year. Ashley?
All right, Caitlin, thanks very much. And we want to take a look at some of the big questions that you may still have about this.